Welcome back to Content Supply Live, the show where we break down the latest trends in content and marketing and creativity, tech. So today, what we're hitting on is all the goodness in AI tools and how to use those in marketing. I think there's a lot of interesting updates there as we're still recording this in Inauguration Week in the US. The rise of micro content strategies, and how to leverage LinkedIn in 2025 and a few other topics. So let's first start off with artificial intelligence. To kind of cue it up, hey, one thing I thought was fascinating was Mr. President Trump had around all these executives, and the notable executives from like OpenAI, which is the owner of ChatGPT, the owner of SoftBank, and those who are really at the forefront of how AI is being used in our society on many levels, especially, the guys and the people behind ChatGPT and the investment that is going into that, but also how that's being touted as this is going to create thousands, if not more, of new jobs, which a lot of people think AI is going to steal jobs. So I thought that was a fascinating take. But how just we're going to see the ability for AI to be involved in our day-to-day just continue to accelerate. What are your hot takes? What do you guys think?
So far, from what I've noticed, I think there was some AI bill that Joe Biden was championing for a little while, and then Trump kind of reversed it, but then also looks like there's more investment in it. I do find it telling that a lot of the tech people were at his inauguration to show that, like, hey, we want to sit at the table. We want to make sure that we don't get shut down, basically. But I think it's obviously not going anywhere. We're using it in everything. It's baked into content production in pretty much every form and facet of what we do. We probably should say we're an AI-powered company. We probably could comfortably say that.
We're actually robots.
Yes. We're totally humans. Fake people, not real humans. People. But it's interesting because every part of the business structure is improved by the use of AI. So, and that's just in its infant stages. And I would say we're pretty adept with it. Most of our clients are pretty impressed that we know how to drive it as well as we do. But it's just going to get better and better. Like, the better we get at video creation, I've tried Sora and some of these Google Labs apps to see how the AI models compare, and some are good or some are not. And sometimes as we get better to be able to prompt, there might be times where we just don't do B-roll and stock. We have like a clip and we can do a whole entire video based off that. Eventually that may happen, but I don't know. I think when it comes to the way it's going, it doesn't seem like anybody's slowing down. The existential threat, I think people have the stress of that's kind of washed away, because so far it's not there in any way, shape or form. So that's my take.
I was just researching. I had heard when a lot of the recent conversations have been happening about AI, a lot of people have been referencing the 1950s and the automation scare and the computer scare. And it's just funny to look back on American history and world history and realize that there have actually been a lot of periods where people have thought, oh my goodness, technology is getting so advanced. We no longer need factory workers because there's all these machines, or we no longer need people running these computers because computers run themselves. And we're still here. Society is like able to adapt and change, and new jobs are created every day. And maybe, like you were saying, Dallin, AI might even create more jobs than it takes. So I'm really hoping that's the case. I'm someone who's really kind of scared of AI and just the way, the way it's headed. And it can be really scary to like head into the unknown and not know what's going to happen. But I take a lot of comfort in looking back on history and realizing this has all happened before. People have had similar panics in the past, and it's all worked out. Okay.
I find there's, at least I'll speak for myself here, there is something more healthy in optimism, and figuring out, okay, like it's an inevitable part of our present and our future, in our personal, professional lives, with AI or other things that feel game-changing, innovative, disruptive, all those catchy marketing or business terms. But to me, I think I have a lot of optimism behind it. I already use it on a daily basis. And to me, I feel like it improves how I approach what I do. And so obviously there's like extremes, but there's extremes with all things, both, large and small. So I'm very optimistic, despite me being massively into like movies and films around how AI, I just think of a long list of movies that are even coming out here soon where like AI is the villain in the new Mission Impossible storyline, or, in all these recent shows, even with, I can list it. We watched The Skeleton Crew on Disney Plus, the new Star Wars series for kids. It's a fun show. Really like it. AI basically controls this entire planet. Finished watching season 2 of Silo on Apple TV. Also, AI is the mastermind behind that civilization. And so it's like, hey, it's integrated everywhere. And I think that's why naturally it creates fear. But I've got a lot of optimism with it, and I'm excited on what it can mean and how we can use it more and more.
AI is not taking away the concerts. I will say that. That's about like when you talk about other industries and things to do. And like,
you never know.
You never know, right? But I think people, the benefit of seeing your friends perform something or being, I don't know. You go. It's like going out to lunch with a friend. Like you can do that on Skype, but it's not the same as like sitting down with somebody and having that experience.
You get the meta VR experience, though. You've seen
it's not
the ducks.
It makes me dizzy, man. Have you guys ever worn VR goggles? Those things, like, they need to make them a little better. I always feel like I'm going to throw up whenever I wear them.
But you're right, though. There's something about the human interaction that can't be replaced,
right?
Even with VR, AR, all that stuff. And people are going to crave it more and more. It's just kind of like, going back to our roots as humans around like no tech, just kind of present, doing something that's been done for thousands of years as humans. Right. So
for sure,
conversation, music. So,
and I was asking AI, just barely, like, use the resources you have and tell me how we help humans keep jobs in the future, even though AI is taking over a lot of jobs. And it was like giving some solid ideas, but also encouraging people in creative industries, service-oriented work, trades, and blue collar. So all three of those are not being replaced; they're enhanced by what we do. So those things can't be totally replaced by AI. You need to be driven by those things. So it's kind of fascinating asking AI to see how do we not get taken over by you? It'll tell us
and lie to me in the process.
Exactly.
That's what they want you to think, Brendan.
That's what
it's all calculated.
That's what they want you to think.
Yeah.
They're getting you on the defense.
The they is just the ominous AI, kind of like the cloud. It's out there somewhere. Okay, so let's talk about the rise of using the word rise is funny with AI. The rise of micro content, or just short form content. I would say, like, it's interesting. Platforms are testing out different short form. Where I know YouTube Shorts now supports more, I think up to 3 minutes now. TikTok has changed. Instagram has recently changed. But where do you think we're going with short form content from here in marketing?
I feel like content has just gotten shorter and shorter. Like, just the attention spans of people, especially like Gen Z, has gotten so short. Like, people can't even like watch movies anymore. Like, they can't watch a 3-hour long movie because their attention span is only like 8 to 12 seconds, long enough to like watch like one reel or one TikTok. So I definitely don't think that like short form content will go away. If anything, it'll even get shorter, which is kind of interesting to think about, just because everybody's attention spans are getting so much shorter than they have been in the past.
I actually think people are going to crave more long form content, which is why these platforms are testing longer short form. There's always going to be a place, like you're saying, and the attention span thing, for sure, that's real. But I think we've seen that with like what's kind of been coined the podcast election recently, where it was all about the 2-3 hour conversations that really won it for Trump in a lot of ways. But also with like, it doesn't require massive editing, but people just kind of like the raw, unfiltered experience of hearing from other people that have been more like less approachable. And so, like I think for the hooks and kind of the clickbaitiness sometimes of the short form, that has its place. But actually, one quick tangent I want to hit on is, man, I can't remember his name, but he's a former executive at Disney. Like I think their film and animation department, motion picture at Disney. And he funded this startup where it was short form, like episodic content. And it was mobile first. So it was all shot vertical in mind. And it actually ended up being a complete failure. They didn't get any users. It was meant to be like a Netflix type subscription. And they got some like A and B listers, Liam Hemsworth, if I can say his name. Hey, A list, B list, you decide. But he was an actor on some of the shows, but it was short form. And it was interesting, right? Like I think in other circumstances it could have worked. But to me, that was kind of an example of like, I think he was leaning too much into like attention spans maybe, or people are only going to want short form. I think the leaning into like long form, what it does to me is it shows that AI can't replace this, in that humans are just having conversation, which is where our roots are, as I kind of mentioned before. So I agree with definitely parts of what you said, Justine, but that's my perspective on how long form I think is going to really start to dominate and continue more and more.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. I think that people definitely want to like learn the life experiences of other people. I mean, vlogs are always super popular, like on TikTok, on Instagram. People love hearing about like influencers' lives. Reality TV is also huge. So yeah, I think there's definitely a space for like short form content, but also, like you said, for long form content too, and even Gen Z, Gen X, in all generations.
It's interesting because the short attention span has been subsidized with podcasts by, you do the dishes podcast, you are doing anything, you listen to a podcast, you're driving podcast. So it's like just constant learning, constant hearing, constant stuff. So there is that mix. The time wasting, I think people don't feel like they're wasting as much time with podcasts as well, because they're usually doing other stuff. So in the long run, where people are kind of hating on social media and how they're like stuck at doing this thing all day and swipe, I could see podcasting even taking more of a front seat as people are rejecting the tech forwardness of these short form platforms.
I wonder if it is like less of a question of like attention span and more of just like people crave stimulus like all the time, personally speaking. Like, and I think that's where podcasting comes in, is because it might not be as like short and snappy, but it is like something, it's like a low level stimulus that you get when you're like, you don't have to listen to your own thoughts when you're driving or like making dinner or like grocery shopping. I wonder if that's more where we're headed, is just like more modes of like stimulus. I don't know. At least that's what I've noticed in my own behavior. Just
man, that hits me. Well, I even think for us, like we're currently fully remote, right? So it's like, what could we do to like speak to the corporate, audience out there, right? As we're doubling down on speaking to more enterprise, level clients. But do so in a way that we got the remote feel, but also like the corporate feel. And so I think creatively that's something to explore from a team and our content creation, is what that could look like. It'll be interesting.
It's going to be good to explore.
Cool. But to be continued on that as we develop ideas. But cool. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you think on these topics that are trending now. And consider how you can apply this to your own marketing efforts and building your brand. We're here to help you become a media company at Content Supply. So that way you can have original videos, podcasts, and the content you need to get visible, to generate more leads, and to make more sales. So check us out at contentsupply.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.